Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new horror film, Witchboard. And this is from director Chuck Russell, who made previous films like The Scorpion King, The Mask, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and here we have the story of a cursed witchboard awakens dark forces, dragging a young couple into a deadly game of possession and deception. And this film is in a weird place where I feel like Russell's trying to balance making a more contemporary, modern version of this campy 80s horror film, because this is a remake of an 80s horror film, but also still trying to keep some of that campiness of the 80s horror film, and it just doesn't really balance well because it feels like it's trying to straddle an approach where it's not really committing to either of them, so then in turn neither of them really work as well. I do feel like there's some eerie imagery and some creepy moments. There's a wild, bonkers sequence when a whole restaurant full of people go completely insane, and you have those moments that stand out and are having some fun. There's definitely very telegraphed scares and stuff like that. There's a whole sequence earlier in the film with one particular character dying a tragic death that's just so obvious what they're going for in that moment, or it just doesn't have that bite. And you have this feeling of this film also struggles pacing-wise, because this film's almost 2 hours and definitely did not need to be 2 hours. And you have this story that focuses on this couple played by Madison Isserman and Aaron Dominguez, and you have their dynamic. They're each having their own issues. Isserman's character, Emily, has addiction and a creepy guy from her past, and Christian Dominguez's character has an ex who really is still interested and invested, and you have some solid, if that kind of relationship drama and tension. I can see where this film is trying to parallel addiction in terms of this witchboard and what it's doing, and it has some fun practical elements that do harken back to some of those 80s horror films, but this whole entire cast feels really wasted. Isserman, who I've enjoyed in other things, Charlie Tahan, Jamie Campbell Bower, who obviously has been most recently as the big bad in the most recent seasons of Stranger Things under a whole bunch of makeup. But even he is supposed to be this big, larger-than-life character, and he has some elements that make him memorable, but in general, so many of these characters just fall flat, and we don't really feel invested in them. They're not particularly interesting. And you have these twists and turns of the story. You have this parallel story with this witch and in the past, and you have this story of Emily and her struggles now, and then the film really goes there, mixing these crazy fantasy elements and time travel and body swapping and all of these different kinds of things that just feels like the film's really trying to go for whatever it can make stick. And in general, it's watchable. It's inoffensive horror. It has some creepy imagery. It has some solid scares at times. And it's trying to commit to something more fun and interesting in that way. It just only half does it, and the other half is kind of a paint-by-the-numbers modern horror film, and at the end of the day, this is a very middling experience that I think horror fans will have some fun with, but in general, it's just not really clicking and firing on all cylinders. But those are my thoughts on Witchboard. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you, as always, for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.